Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome to today's session on the Azure AI Fundamental Live Study Series. So, thanks very much for joining us today. So, we have an amazing session lined up. So, today we have Jaflet Unwamu, and Jaflet will be walking us through how to build a regression model with Azure Machine Learning Designer. So Jaflet, for those that do not know, so yeah, it's a very core part of the Nigeria Azure community. So it does a lot of stuff in the community, and we're looking to learn from him. Hello, Jaflet, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Hello, David. Good evening.
Hi, hello. How you doing today?
Very well, thank you. It's weekend, and the weekend is not bad. It's going well.
Yeah, yeah, that's really
And
nice
how's
to hear.
yours?
Been busy. It's been absolutely busy, but it's sort of like the way that we it goes in our industry these days.
Yeah, true. Okay, so someone said I needed to turn on my camera. This is me. So you know it's a human talking, not a robot.
Really nice to see your face also. So Jaflin, so what are we going to
Yeah.
be learning today? And also, so whenever you're ready to start, but what are we going to be learning today?
Okay. Sorry. Just to mention, I would have to turn on my off my camera in between,
Yeah,
so it doesn't interrupt mess with my network.
yeah, that's
So
absolutely fine.
yeah. Okay. So today we're going to be talking about regression model. Last week we're supposed to do more of an introduction into machine learning, talked about supervised and unsupervised machine learning, and then some other things, the basic steps in building a machine learning solution. But then Deborah had serious network issues that we just had to push it. She would still record her session and upload, and then once it's uploaded, we'll share with everybody. But today we're going to be talking about a part of machine learning which is known as regression. And we're going to see how we can build a model using regression and predict some beginners stuff.
Awesome. That sounds very interesting. So yeah, whenever you're ready, feel free to carry on. So if anyone has any questions for Jaflet as he speaks, please do ask the question in the chat window, and we'll pass them to Jaflet to answer the question for you. But is there anything that you want to share on the screen, Jaflet?
Yeah, so I'll just share my slides to talk about a few things
Yeah,
before we get started into the demo section.
awesome, awesome. Demo sounds very
Cool.
interesting.
Um,
I'm looking forward to the demo myself. I think that sounds interesting.
yeah.
So that's awesome.
So just give me a few minutes, please. Let
No
me get
problems at all.
that started.
No problems at all.
And please let me know if you can see my screen.
Not yet, but hopefully it's going
Can
to
you?
come up. Yep, it's coming up now. So let's go ahead and bring the screen up. Yeah, I can see your screen now. Awesome.
Okay, beautiful. So I just have a few slides, just 4 slides. Uh, Basically, the demo would take more of the time. Yeah, let's hope we have enough time to see how we can round up before 7 o'clock.
No problems at all.
Okay, I think we are good to go, right? Probably just
Yes.
have to close a few tabs. Great. So welcome everybody once again. Um, I'm Jaflet Wamo. I had the first session. For those who don't know me, I'm a Gold Microsoft Student Ambassador, final year student at the University of Benin. I graduated yesterday, actually, so it's been a little bit fun week, but it has also been hectic, kinda. So I graduated yesterday, and also I'll be talking about machine learning. I build AI solutions using Microsoft Azure For the tech communities, I like being part of tech communities, part of the Facebook developers circle in Edo State, and for Microsoft, part of the Microsoft Azure community. As David mentioned, um, leading student relations in the Microsoft Azure community here in Nigeria. So basically, I think that's about me. I love playing football. Just in case you want to know fun things about me, I love playing football. Love empowering people. Love mentoring people, helping them, to build tech solutions and all of that. Now, so I think I'll just present. The title of this session is Create a Regression Model with Azure Machine Learning Designer. Now, first in this session, I'm just going to take a little bit about regression, talk a little bit about regression, what regression is. Now, regression is a type of machine learning, or it's a form of machine learning, basically helps us to predict numeric labels based on the features of an item. So, for example, let's say we have an automobile company, and in that automobile company, we sell cars, and then we're trying to find out certain characteristics of a specific car. Use all of these to predict the selling price of that car. Now, we could use a regression model to make this happen. But this time, they are majorly numeric labels, they are majorly numeric data. So, for example, the size of the engine, the number of seats in the car, and so on. All of those numeric details are what we use to create the model. Another thing we also have could be the selling price of the car. So the selling price is also numeric data or a numeric label, and we also use it when coming up with that model. It's an important characteristics, an important feature, and so we use it when building that. Now, for regression is an example of a supervised machine learning technique. It helps us train a model using data that includes both the features and the known values of the label in such a way that the model gets to learn from all of these data and then tries to fit in the feature combinations to that model. So as you know, once the model has been completed, it's a lot easy for us to once the model has been completed and trained, it's not easy for us to predict new items when added by this time by the numeric data, by the number of seats. So by let's say for example somebody imputes a car, this is an automobile company, let's go back to the illustration of an automobile company, and then they impute, oh, I need a car that has 6 seats, I need a car that has this engine size. With all of this, it's able to predict it that, oh, the data imputed reveals that cars with this number of seats and with these engine sizes cost so amount, and so it's able to predict what that car that person wants um, would be the price range of that car. Now, we're going to be working on three things in this module. First, we're going to be making use of Azure Machine Learning, and um, in Azure Machine Learning Designer, we're going to create a machine learning workspace, and we're going to try as much as we can to train a regression model. And then we use the regression model for inferencing and deploy our regression model to a service. We'll see how well we can cover all of this within the duration of this session. So let's quickly get over to our demo. So I have to open up a new browser so that I have just start from scratch. And first thing you need to do, I hope you can still see my screen, David. Hello, Mr. David.
Yes, sir. I can still see your screen. Yes.
Okay, okay, okay,
All coming
cool.
through. Thanks very much.
Okay, so first thing, I would head over to portal.azure.com. Sorry. This is your Azure portal. And then I'll sign in with my Microsoft Azure credentials. Now it's a two-way thing, but for those who have not, do not have a Microsoft Azure account, you can create a Microsoft profile and then you log in with your Microsoft account. I'm going to use a profile that has credits in, so it's easy. But then um, in one of the sessions I shared, I think that was the first session we had. I shared the link for those who will need to get their free Azure credits. I think I did that, Mr. David, right?
Hello. I can't really remember if we did, but if not, we can always share information with people on how to do that.
Okay, okay. So maybe in between or at the end, I'll just share again so you can get your free Azure credits to build and test all of this. So I'll log in
Awesome.
with my details. And it's going to take me to my portal or to my profile. Now, for those who might be signing in for the first time, you might not have as much features as I do because I'm a Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador, and as Microsoft Learn Student Ambassadors, we get a lot of these features, a lot of these credits. So just in case you don't have all of these features you are seeing on mine now, then don't panic, don't bother about it. So first thing I'm going to do is to create a resource. Now, a resource is like a space on Microsoft Azure. Remember, we're hosting all of this in the cloud, so it's easy for us to always have access to it whenever we need to. Now, I'm going to search for machine learning because we're trying to build a machine learning model, and it's going to open up machine learning for us. Going to click create. And then what next I'd have to do is input the various sections. Now, first thing is the subscription. It's compulsory. I already have this subscription, so it's here. It's already inputted for me. Now I have to create a new resource group. So you might not when you log into yours, if you have not built a machine learning solution, you might not have all of these there. But then these are some of the things I've worked on. So then I'll just create a new one because this is for a separate. Um, so I name this okay, Azure AI demo. Azure AI demo. Let's see. Okay, the name is available. So that's the name of my resource group. It's a new resource group. Next thing I'll do is my workspace name. So let's name this. mm, let's name it Azure AI Demo One, Two. Region, well, depending on where you reside, but I would pick Central US. Okay, let's see. Hope this is available. Yes, it is available. And then we'll have storage accounts and all of these. So just leave them the same way they are. Now, you don't need to change all of this because they're already imputed for you. So what I'll do next is review and create. Now wait for some time to for this to be created. So let's just give it some time.
So while
And
we're
if you
waiting
note,
for, yeah,
okay,
sorry. Oh, so just
don't
a
worry.
quick question. So while we're waiting for that to be created, so this machine learning service that we're creating, what is it mainly used for? Is it mainly used for building our own algorithms or what?
Okay, so you can use it for a lot of things or a couple of things. If you need to build a machine, basically things surrounding machine learning. It could be unsupervised machine learning models. It could be supervised machine learning models. You can do all of this with. We're going to connect this with the machine learning studio, the Azure machine learning designer. Basically, what we're just doing here is giving a space in the cloud. So we're trying to, it's like, okay, for those who are not aware, cloud is like storing all of your details on a server or in a computer, in another computer, in such a way that you can always have access to it. So basically, we're trying to save this and every other thing we will do on the cloud, so we can always have access to it. That's what basically what we're doing on Microsoft Azure now.
Right. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So please,
And
if
just
you
in
do
case
have
any,
any,
okay,
yeah, if you do have any questions, please do leave your questions in the chat window and we ask them to Jaflet. So sorry, carry on, Jaflet.
yeah, sure, sure. Just in case you have questions, I'll be here. So deployment is still in progress, so we'll just wait a little for this to get done. But then while this is getting done, let's head over to our Azure Machine Learning Studio, ml.azure.com. And then I'm already signed in. So it's already showing the directory and subscription. But if you're signed in with the same account, you have all of those accesses, then it's not easy. So I'll create a new workspace. First, let's refresh this and see. Oh, this is still okay, successful. So let's see, it's supposed to display here. Beautiful, it's displayed here, so we don't have to create a new. Um, so great, we already have a workspace which we created here, and so we'll just get started. At any point in time, you can always manage your resources and all of that. Now, the way Azure Machine Learning works is Azure Machine Learning Studio works is basically for those who don't want to code. You don't want to code. You don't want to, do more majority of technical things. You can make use of Azure Machine Learning Studio. So just head over and then we go over to compute over here. If you're coming in for the first time, you can just access all of this, to run through and learn how it works. So we'll create a new compute. Now, basically what a compute space is, it's like you're telling the computer how much space you need, or a compute instance, how much space you need. So it's like you buying a new laptop, or let's say you remember I gave an example that's running on the cloud is like you running on a separate computer. The computer is not with you, but it's always on. You get, so you are giving the seller specifications. Okay, I want my laptop to be this, that. Um, should it have more graphics? What should be the size? We have 4 cores for 14 gig RAM, 28 GB storage. These are more of like features that you could um, have for your system. You could build your models on. They are like computers, but this time they are not physical computers. They are not. You have your virtual machine here, and then here you have the costs. So if you are running for a large organization, you can pick the cost that works best, that carries a lot of things. and then so I would just pick. Okay, so this basically gives us for the standard. It gives us classical machine learning model, auto ML runs, pipeline runs. So we'll just go with this. Still leave these features. Let's see, I won't missing something. Compute name, Azure AI Demo 1. And I think we're good to go. So I'll just create. And once I have created, it's going to take me here. So let's just give a few minutes for it to load. Few minutes for it to load. It's still creating. Uh, so while it's creating, if you have any questions, please let me know.
Yeah, so please do ask your questions that you may have to Jaflet, and then we'll pass those to him to answer them. So in the meantime, while we're waiting for additional questions, so um, what are sort of like the main use cases that we'll have for what you're teaching us today, Jaflet, in terms of building a regression model? What sort of use cases should we look at to say, okay, this will be a good solution for us to look at to implement a regression ML model?
Okay, so basically, I think it depends on majorly on whatever solution the person is trying to build, whatever solution the person is trying to build. But then any solution that makes you that you where you have to deal with lots of numeric data, lots of figures to calculate things, to be able to predict things, then you could work around a regression model. Like the example I mentioned earlier, car company, and all they want to do is they want to the user to be able to predict how much car will cost, just imputing the number of seats, just imputing the mileage, just imputing all of those numeric data. It can predict how much that car will cost. So it doesn't have to ask questions like, should they have this, should they have this, should they have this, all of that. I don't know if that so that any solution that basically surrounds that to be a great idea for you to work on with.
Got it. Thank you.
Now, something else to mention is there are four types. It now for there's first known as computer. Okay, so it has successfully created. We have the compute instances, we have the compute clusters, we have the inference clusters, and we have the attached compute. So maybe yeah, let's quickly head over. Now, if you notice, these are the four categories here. We have the compute instances. That's the one we just created. It's more of an instance. Then we have clusters. So, for example, you're having different instances coming together. You get that's where then we have inference clusters. If you are doing more of a little bit of DevOps into it, if you are doing large scale, um, for large scale companies and all of that, and then they have this through the attached compute. So we'll create a compute cluster, and in features for this, so let's pick this. So we're having dedicated to CPU. So virtual machine size. Okay, so let's select from, well, let's select from the recommended options. But if you need more options, just in case you don't find the one that's convenient for you, or maybe I just building a single, little solution, and maybe you need something small, could just click that. It's exactly the same thing we found earlier when we're in the compute instances section. But then what makes this different is, like I mentioned earlier, the compute instances is more like creating, having your own computer, a workstation. But then this is more of like the place where you get to train and do all of the things you need to do. So I'll go over next. Sorry, I missed this. Azure AI. Okay, so it already contains its hotstar. Coming up with names could be a little bit tricky and funny. Okay, so let's do this 1.1. Oh, I have to do characters only. One. Okay, I think this works. Now this might take a little bit longer, but then number of nodes I'll pick through. We'll leave the other sections empty and then create. It's take a long time creating this. Not a little bit long. Let's hope it gets done as soon as possible. Now the next thing we need to do is to create a pipeline to be able to make use of our Azure machine learning studio. So we'll head over to pipelines, and under pipelines, we'll see how it looks like. We have nothing here, so we'll just go over to create one. Got it. Got it. Now in the settings section, we select compute target. So already have this compute target that has been created. And that's two um, available sections. So we'll save this. And then next, what we'll have to do is can find add our data set to it. Now, for the sake of this, we are going to make use of a data set that is sample data set. So we'll head over here, a data set that's already on Microsoft Azure. But then if you need to upload your data set, you can do so. And we're going to make use of the automobile price data. We're going to make use of this data set. So impute the data set here. And then it gives us options, or it gives us more like it of the details about that specific data set. So I'll close this so I can have more space. Sorry, any questions in the chat, Mr. David?
Yes. So actually, a question just came in from Hugo Chinyere Augustine. So the question goes thus: says, why did you select CPU VM over GPU?
Okay, so basically what I'm creating is a basic solution. It's not more of, it doesn't make use of more of graphics. I don't know if she gets that, but then it's a basic solution It doesn't need. It's not a heavy solution. It's not a heavy model. So then that's more of the reason why I had to make use of a CPU. But if I'm working for a large company that maybe has to do a more of graphics and all of that, then I would have to go for GPU.
Yeah, nice. Thank you.
So I don't know if there are any other questions
No,
in
so
the
that's the only
chat.
question for now. So there's another question that I'm asking on behalf of the audience, which would be, so in terms of the data set, so you're currently using data sets that's pre-provided. What
Yes.
what locations can we pull data from if we're bringing our own data? Can we pull it from, like, let's say, just a web URL? Do we have to store them somewhere before we can pull them from that location?
Okay, cool. So first, if you need to impute your data set, you can head over to data sets and then you create your data set. Tell how you create your data set and then once you have created your data set, can you still hear me clearly?
Yes, can still hear you. We can hear people saying congratulations in the back end, but that's good.
Sorry. Yeah,
But
sorry about that. Okay, so you can create your data set here, and so let's just see it. So you can see the different options you have here.
yeah, since see that.
Cool.
Thanks very much. Yeah.
Yeah, so I hope that helps.
Yep, definitely. Definitely. Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, we're here. Oops, so I can't find my. Okay, I think it's up here. Great, so I'll just go at this so it's easy for us to see it. Okay, so once we have done this, the next thing that we'll basically do is now the way Azure Machine Learning Designer works is, like I mentioned, it makes use of flows instead of you writing code. So basically, all you have to do is try to picture how things work out in your mind and then just bring them out step by step. So you need to understand how each section works and then be able to, reveal all of them, bring all of them out in form of a flow. So I'll take this up a little and I would let's click this visualize. And basically what we're doing with visualize is to check all of the rows and columns to make sure they are not they are clean. Yeah, to make sure they are clean. Now in machine learning or data science or AI, basically what you do is to once you have a data, it could be contain empty rows, contain empty columns. What you have to do in data cleaning, a section of data science and machine learning, is that you have to clean that data, remove all of those empty columns, because if you don't, they would affect your data. They are unnecessary things. So let's say, for example, in my company, there could be unnecessary information they are gathering. And so I have to know what specifically I am trying to achieve. What do I need to build a solution? What specifically do I need to build a solution? How do I intend to achieve it? What data do I need? And then I remove the unnecessary ones so the data set is less bulky. And from what we can see, our data set is already clean. So we have the numeric section, is length, width, height, any engine type. Okay, that's not numeric. Engine size, compressed ratio, horsepower, and then we'll just have prices that have already been imputed based on those numeric data. So it's clean already. Let's see again. Cool, it's clean already. Now let's head over to the price section, and here we can see all of, just in case we need to see other some sections of it, so we can see the mean, the median already of this. Oh, sorry, this is for highway. So price, okay. Price can see the mean, the median, the minimum, the maximum, standard deviation, all of these. Feature type, they are all numeric, there are no missing values, there are 30 unique values, and all of that. Now it is the price section that our module will use to predict the data, or the use for predicting whatever information is imputed. Same thing we can do for the rest sections, and then we can just try to combine all of this. Now the next thing we need to do is we go over to data transformation. Basically what data transmission enables us do is to prepare this data that we have imputed for the model that we're trying to build. So let's say, for example, our data set is very unclean, so to speak. We can just pick this clean missing data, add here, and then it runs it for us, or convert to CSV. All of these are things you just need to understand what you need to do to achieve a specific thing, and then it's lots easy for you to make it happen um, with it. So we're going to pick select columns in data set, and we'll drop here. Sorry, add this here. And basically we'll connect both of them together. Doesn't matter where it is, but then so we need to select the column we're speaking specifically, and in our data set we're picking prices, automobile price. Where is price? This is price. That's what we're using. So we're picking that column, and we're good to go. Now under the settings, we'll head over again. Sorry, let's check something. Sorry, I'm going to select by name specifically. Yes. So let's look for still price. But then to get this done, something else I needed to mention, and which we didn't take note of, is that we are not just making use of price. We're not just making use of price. So we're making use of all numeric. If you notice, price has already been added. But then we're not just making use of price. We also have things like your number of doors. So we impute this, so add this. We have the length, key information, the length, the width, the height, curb width, engine type, number of cylinders, engine size. Um, so basically, we'll just need to add every other thing, other, because they are still necessary. Uh, and the only thing we would not pick is normalized losses. So let's do this. Let's pick this, make body style, fuel type, and then we save this. So I've selected all of the columns that are necessary for us to run our model. So next thing we'll get to do is we'll clean the data. If you notice from the data set, price, there were no missing columns. But then for Other sections, like when we checked, I think it was the horsepower we checked, there were some missing columns, I think three missing columns or so. So just to be sure, I'm going to pick clean data, missing data, and add this. And something interesting about machine learning is building with Azure Machine Learning Designer is it doesn't matter how you where you input your any of these tags. All you need to do is connect them correctly. So you can see they're having different shapes. It doesn't have to, it's not restricted to just being straight or no, it's not that restricted. So clean missing data, and under clean missing data, all of the columns by name. I'll just pick all of the columns, add all the columns except normalized losses, and I've saved that. And the next thing we need to do is to make sure all of these sections are imputed. So let's go down. We have the minimum missing value ratio, okay. And then cleaning mode, we replace this with remove entire row. So if, for example, a column is missing, we remove that entire row from the data set. And yeah, we're done with this. So the next thing we need to do is to head over to normalize data. So I don't want the clean missing um analyze normalize data. And here we'll just connect this here. So if you notice there's something different, it has two sections basically. But then we're picking the first one because that's the first thing it should do. So maybe you have two options. Let's say once that's cleaned the data, do this or do this. So basically, it should either do this, normalize data, or depending on the solution we're trying to build, it should also carry out another activity. So now we have normalized data, and we head over here, columns to transform. First, you have to change the transformation to minimum maximum, and then columns to transform by name, adding all of the columns. But then, as mentioned, would not need to add all of them, remember, because we are building numeric values, making use of numeric values. So don't forget that. So I would have to take away some of the columns. So make, for example, non-numeric, normalized losses, non-numeric, um, body style, it's non-numeric, drive wheels, we don't need that, engine location, non-numeric, wheelbase, I think that's numeric, length, width, height, numeric, hub weight, engine size, aspiration, non-numeric, sorry I missed that. Then also here, fuel system, numeric, we don't need this. Okay, we need ball, sorry. We need this and from the data set. Stroke, compression ratio, horsepower, peak RPM, and price. No, we don't need price because we're using all of these to predict the price. So I'm making use of all of these columns to predict on the price. We don't need this. No, we won't need this too, even if it's numeric. So I'm picking the columns we need. Hope, let's see if there's any other column we do not need. Something else you need to take note of before building your machine learning solution is you need to understand your data set really well. You need to understand your data set, know what actually you're looking for, what you hope to achieve, so it's not easy for you and it's not complicated. We don't need number of cylinders now. Engine type, we don't need it. Okay, so I guess we're good to go now. These are the key columns that we need. Now the next thing we'll do is we'll save this and then we'll submit to basically run the whole pipeline. Submit, select an experiment. Let's see if the existing experiments already, no existing experiments. So I'll basically create a new one. So Azure, Azure AI ML. Okay, let's regression, and then I'll submit this. So we're going to wait for 5 minutes. That will be runs faster than that, but then it take that long to run this. So while we are waiting, just in case you have questions again, please be sure to ask your questions. Now, once I've done this, we'll be able to view and check out the data that has been transformed. And so I don't know if there are questions in the chat, Mr. David. Hello, Mr. David. I don't know if there are questions in the chat. Sorry, just to be sure. Still hear you, Mr. David.
Yes, can hear you.
Okay, cool. I was asking if there are questions in the chat.
So please do leave any questions that you have for Jafflet, and we'll pass that on to him. So the process that you just showed us. So I'm looking at the process now. So is this the same process that will follow regardless of the data set that we're dealing with?
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks very much. So by the
So at
moment
any
then,
point, okay.
so sorry, carry on. Sorry.
Yeah, so I just wanted to mention that just in case you have questions, maybe while running as having issues, something that we don't understand or it doesn't work the same way, maybe error messages, you could always reach out.
Awesome. That's very, very useful. So once we have the data in, so then it's going to learn certain information from that data, I guess, and then it's going to build a model from that.
Yes. Now,
Nice.
basically, something else to note is that would also need to build a training pipeline. So
Okay.
basically, you don't just impute all of this data. You also get to, more of like train it, so it's able to just the same way you get to train people, just the same way people get to understand things. They don't just pick up things um from their head. They have to be taught and all of that. That's exactly the same way it works.
Got it. Thank you. So Rafael just said something. Rafael said, Rafael, the man that cut the soap for us. So Rafael just said, interesting. Looks like Google Cloud's data flow.
Yeah, similar to that. So Okay, so it's taking a little bit long, but then we'll just have to wait till it gets completed. So if you have a larger data set, then it's going to take larger time to get completed. So we're waiting for it to get done, for this to run successfully, and then we'll continue. Um, just in case somebody joins us between, you
Yeah.
don't get confused what's happening.
Yeah. So the end, okay. Oh, okay, I think it's so the end result of what it's currently doing. What will the end result of that be?
So basically, at the end of this, it's going to create, it's going to save all of this and make use of it. So it's going to save them in more of like a model. Then we're going to create a training model. And for the training model, basically what it's going to do is or a training pipeline. And basically what it's going to do is we'll get to use all of these inputs that I've gotten, to train that specific the specific model that will come up with later. So we're going to continue from here to create the linear regressions or whatever regression models are coming up with. I don't know if that answers the question, Mr. David.
Yes, it does. It does. Yeah, thanks very much for that. So I was looking at the time. I was like, oh, okay, is this something that maybe we'll have a part two for this? But we'll see.
Yes, exactly. So it's taking, because it's online, it takes lots of time than okay, so it's actually completed. We still have a, should I say, a long way to go? Yeah, I think so. Because we still need to build our training pipeline and do all of the things we need to do with it. So okay, so let's just create our training pipeline, and then it's easy for us. We can continue from there for part two next weekend. Then for part two, we'll get to deploy our service, get to test it, and then see how it works. So I was mentioning earlier, I don't know if I did, but then you have to impute. There are two things you need to impute. First, you need to impute a trained data set and a test data set. So first, you need to have a data set you use to train the model, and then another one you use to test. So whenever you're building your machine learning models, you split them into two sections. Um, and I don't know if that's more of like answers. I think there was a question related to that earlier. So that's
Yeah.
also something you need to take note of.
Yes. Thank you very much.
So next, since it's, really wanted to say something.
Oh no, no, I just said thank you very much.
Okay. Now, when we're trying to train our data sets, our data, or train our model, we're going to use some sections of this data, because it's the reason why we need to is because it's we have the information or the things we need to make that model work here. The labels that it's going to use, the figures it's going to use, all of them are here.
Oh, I think that Japhlet's line got dropped a bit. But, okay, I think it's back now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Sorry. So it
Okay.
just dropped a bit, yeah.
Okay. So we can visualize all of this data, the results. Okay, sorry, let me take this again. You can check here. So we can see what we have here, all of the information. But then let's get to see how it works. Um, let's visualize, transform data sets, and then we get to see all of the sections. And if you noticed, it um, removed the columns that we removed that were not imputed earlier. Now notice something else. It's no longer figures we had 50 something, this, that as it had before. But this time it's making use of numbers like this. Now the reason why it done this is so it has a scale. So basically, people can identify that, oh, it's between this range. Whenever you're building your models, it basically has to run in between 0 and 1. So anything running between 0 and 1. So everything it's get like the scale has to be between 0 and 1, between that range. If you notice, the highest is 1, and I think the lowest in the city hyphen MPG is, what's the lowest? 0.166667. That's this. So it's basically runs between direction of, or between the range of 0 and 1. Nothing higher than that. But for price is doesn't run between that range because it's more of what we'll be using to predict. Now, next thing we need to take note of is, let's head over back to create our training pipeline. As I mentioned earlier, to train your pipeline, or to have a training pipeline, you make use of some sections of this data which has already been converted into zeros and ones, which the computer can understand. So head over to, hello, can you see hear me, Mr. David?
Yes, can still
Hello,
hear
Mr.
you.
David.
Hello.
Okay,
Yes, we can still hear you.
I think it went blank for some time. Okay, so now for our data transmission, we'll go over to split data. um let's search for split data. It's going to split our data into two sections. So let's bring it here and check for the settings. Open up, where are you? Wait, so you have to split them, split the rows, and then we're going to use here. Now first, 0.5 is telling us to take 50% of the data for training, 50% for testing. But then we're going to take 0.7. So we're going to use 70% of the data set to train, or to create our training model. And then we're going to make use of random seed. So basically what random seed 1 2 3 does is to make sure that the values don't change. So they could change maybe 1 or 2 things that could happen, but then to make sure that they are more of, together, they don't have to change in between. things don't happen to them. So that's how I'm making use of the random seed. Gets to like more of pick which one goes and which of the columns stays. And then for stratified splits, we pick no. Now once we have set this, we take this here. So basically something else we want this model to do or to take note of is to use all we would be getting from this to train our model. So head over to train model. Let's see, train model. Wait, train model. So just head over here, train. Great, train model. And if you notice in the option, you have it helps enables us train a classification or regression model in a supervised manner. Remember, it is supervised machine learning model. Now the columns we are going to use is head over to settings, label columns is price. So we're going to use price to train our data sets. Um, and then we'll save this. Sorry. Okay, so I guess we are here. Yes, here we are. So I'll take this down a little. There's my cursor. It's not going down.
Yeah, so what I'm
Okay.
thinking, because I'm looking at the time, that's the time and the status. So we could also like just put like a marker here. So it depends on where you think it's a good point, Javlet, and we can sort of pick it up from there next time to avoid going too long.
Okay. So I think we could just end 7:30 wherever we are. We'll end 7:30 and continue next time.
Okay.
That works, right?
Yep. Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. So I just so people can understand where exactly we are and what we're trying to do. So we'll connect this together. So I'll bring it here. First, we're trying to come in here. So once the data has been splitted, let's understand the flow. Once the data has been splitted, um, oh sorry, we have not imputed the settings here, so it won't connect. Um, so column price. What else are we missing here? Let's check. Model explanations true. I think we're good to go. Oh, I don't want us to connect here. So let's see if we can get this over here. Okay, so let's leave it here since it's not dragging the other way. Now we need to be specific about the type of data set model we're trying to build. So we head over here, sorry, and that was all we were supposed to include there. So it's a linear regression we're trying to build. Drag here, and then I'll bring this down and connect it here. So this kind of working with a regression model, and then this comes in. Now, something else we need to do is we need to then score a model. So we head over to score model. Let's see, score model. Pick this and we drop it here. Go down, go down this. Okay, so let's bring it down. And then we're making use of the inputs from our train model to score this model. Now, something else you need to do is we're not just making use of the model that has been trained, we're also making use of some sections from the data that has been fitted into the two categories or split into two sections. We'll have the training section and then we'll have the testing section. Now, basically, let's just go over this flow again to understand what we've been working on, just in case someone joins us um, while we are here. It's not going up. Oh my. So first thing, we're making use of the data set, which is the automobile price data set. It's an inbuilt data set of Microsoft Azure Machine Learning Designer. And basically, we selected the different columns, all of the columns in the data set. But then, while visualizing the columns in the data set, we figured out that there are some columns that don't have, which are empty. And so we need to remove all of those columns. We need to remove columns that are not necessary for building our model. And that's what we did under the clean missing data section after visualizing the data. And then we checked it out to make sure that it was correct. It was exactly, or it exactly met our requirements. Once we had all sections we needed correctly placed, we had to split it into two sections: the train model and the the train data and the testing data. And then for the testing data, the train data, picking 70% to train the model using a linear regression model and then scoring that specific model. So this is what we have worked on today. So in part two, which definitely will be next week, we'll get to work more on our model, deploy it, test it, and see how it works.
That's awesome, Jeff. Thanks very, very much for that. So there's one question that just came in now from Vishwas. So Vishwas has a question, and I'll display the question on the screen now. So it says, "Can you give some insight for the different data sets?" So I'm trying to understand what the question is about. If in case it makes sense to you, in case you understand what the question is about, Jaflet.
Okay, so I don't know if this person already has an insight into what data science is all about. But then for data science, you make use of data, which is basically a compilation of different rows and columns that has to do with that gives you or that helps you um, build your models. So your computer basically picks all of these data tries to understand them and uses them to train itself, and then you can use it to test out. Now you're talking about the databases, sorry, the data set you could impute. It depends on the project you are working on. Depends on the project you are working on. We could have, so let's go over here and let's see some sample. Okay, data sets. Hmm, sorry, let's make this larger. You could impute your data sets here, like I mentioned earlier, wherever it could be. It could be an Excel file. It could be whatever, wherever it is. It could be from a web stored on a website. You get to pick that. And I'm coming trying to find sample data sets. Okay, sorry. Let's go over here. So I show him a sample data set. Great. These are sample data sets. Sorry. So, for example, if you notice here, we have, let's just quickly take this so you see what the data set looks like. I hope I'm answering your question correctly. If I'm not getting them correctly, or if that's not exactly what you mean, then please let me know. So, this is what a data set looks like. You have different rows, you have different columns, basically information about whatever you're trying to build. So, for example, this is an adult census, income, binary classification, blah blah. You have the age of people. Maybe they filled a form. It could be a form. It could be maybe an employee in your company getting their data and typing them on an Excel sheet. It could be whatever, but we just get the data, and then you have different sections, work class, then work with state governments, or they are self-employed, some of them work with private organizations. Um, so all of these things, whether it's their education, bachelor's degree, these are basically contents of a data set related to what solution we're trying to solve. For the one we used, which was the automobile, it had things like price, horsepower, things related to automobile, and would help us um, when building our model. I hope that answers your question. Sorry, I missed the name too.
Yes, so the name was Visuals. So thanks very much for that, Jaflet. So that was very, very useful. So thanks very, very much. So it's been a very, very good session. There's a lot of very, very useful information that you've shared with us. And I'm sure that alongside with others, we're looking forward to part two of this and the continuation of this. Is there anything that you'd like to share with us in closing as we round up the session for today?
Okay, so first I want to thank everybody that joined. Yeah, it's streaming this, and for those who would watch, it's you spend lots of data, lots of time. But then one interesting thing is, as a machine learning or somebody that wants to go into AI or machine learning, it's more of practicalities. So every single session would get to work on practicals. But there's something interesting about working on all of these practicals. You get to make mistakes too. You get to make errors, and that ability for you to make that mistake and be persistent enough to solve them. So for anybody that is going over this on their own and they come over errors, they're trying to figure it out and it's not just working out, don't give up. Keep trying. If you have questions, reach out to myself, or Ali Deborah. I think I would drop. Let me head over to stream so I share. So I'll just stop sharing so I can share details with you all. Um, so I'll share it with you, Mr. David, so you can help share in the live stream. You could reach out.
Yes, sure. So, yep. So, in case you do have any questions, please do feel free to reach out. So, I'll post Jaflet's LinkedIn in the chat window. And so please do reach out in case you do want to carry on with the conversation. Or Jaflet is always happy to um, provide support. So I'll also show that on the screen. So please do reach out to the URL on the screen. Sorry, to the account on the screen. So that's LinkedIn, Jaflet Onwamu, and Twitter, also Jaflet Onwamu. So thanks very much, Jaflet. Thanks very much, everyone, for joining us today. Again, it's been amazing. Looking forward to part two and the conclusion of this, where we actually get to test the model and see the result of what Jaflet has been showing us. So, but in the meantime, do have a lovely week, everyone. Do have an amazing week, and we'll see you next time. So, bye for now, everyone.